Well, we are following a major story out of Capitol Hill. Top intelligence officials were just grilled before a Senate committee about global security threats facing the country. Most of the focus, though, was on that major national security breach revealed yesterday, where top Trump officials accidentally included the editor of The Atlantic magazine in a group chat about highly sensitive war plans. Scripps News national security correspondent Liz Landers is live for us on Capitol Hill. She was just inside that hearing room. And Liz, we heard a lot of questions, didn't hear a lot of answers. What stood out to you?
Yeah, Andrew, I think starting from the beginning, we can just start with the fact that at the beginning of this, the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was asked if she was even on the texting thread, and she would not even directly answer that question at the beginning of the hearing. The CIA director, John Ratcliffe, did say yes, he was on that signal texting chain. But as the hearing went on, those answers evolved, and we primarily saw the Democrats on the committee, starting with the ranking member, Senator Mark Warner, asking a series of questions, really drilling down on this question of whether or not some of the information shared on that texting thread was classified. Now, we heard from Gabbard and Ratcliffe repeatedly that there was not classified information shared on that thread. But as senators continued to drill down on that question, some of those answers waffled a little bit. I'm thinking of towards the end here, there were some questions about, in particular, if this isn't considered classified information, then why not just release the whole text thread? That was a sort of theme that came up several times during this hearing. Also, the idea that, according to the CIA director, that the Secretary of Defense and the Department of Defense are the ultimate declassification authority. And so then the question presented to Ratcliffe was whether or not the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who has been talking about this and batting this down today in interviews, whether he had declassified any of the information on the thread. Ratcliffe said he didn't know. I just spoke with Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, who's right out of the corner of my eye here talking to reporters, and he just said that he is not sure he believes this idea that the information on the thread isn't classified. And he said that they're going into a second session right now. We just saw these top national security officials move into a SCIF, which is where classified conversations are supposed to happen. Senators say that they want to continue to ask questions about this in the closed door setting as well, Andrew. One thing, too, that I would add is that Republicans on this panel were not as concerned, it seemed, about this story, though there were two Republicans, Senator Round and Senator Young, who said that they did want to talk about this Signalgate texting chain, but in the classified setting. Otherwise, you heard from Republican senators asking about Ukraine, about cartels, about other threat issues that the United States are facing, but not honing in on what has turned into an embarrassing episode for the administration. Andrew?
And one of the moments that stood out to me as we were watching along was John Ossoff, the Democratic senator from Georgia, there at the end saying this was a huge mistake, wasn't it, to John Ratcliffe, and him saying no. And then they kind of go back and forth. But Liz, as you mentioned, we know that these senators are going to be going into a closed door session. We obviously, as members of the public and journalists, won't have access to that. But members, we do know, are free to say whatever they want afterwards. What sorts of questions have, whether it's Mark Kelly or the other sources you've been talking to, said that they want to potentially get some more answers to in the closed door session?
Well, I think the main thing in the closed-door session is talking more openly about what is in the potential classified information in that thread. The Atlantic journalist who wrote this story specifically said in the reporting that he did not reveal some of the information that he saw and read on the texting thread because he believed that it would be classified. There were questions from senators today about whether or not that reporter could release that information and if he would be free from legal challenges if he did so. The answers from the DNI and from the CIA director were a little bit waffling on that, whether or not it would be appropriate for that reporter to release that information. I think what you're going to see in this closed-door session is senators drill down on that information more, potentially asking these top officials, the CIA director, to look at his phone and to go through what was said in that portion of the text chain that the reporter didn't want to reveal. If Ratcliffe or Gabbard have their phones nearby, or if staffers can reveal some of what was texted in that thread, that is potentially a question that senators could ask in this secure, closed-door setting that they're going into right now.
Yeah, a fascinating day to just so happen to have a congressional hearing with Tulsi Gabbard, the head of the FBI, and John Ratcliffe, who, of course, were on, according to The Atlantic, on that signal group. Scripps News national security correspondent Liz Landers breaking it all down for us from Capitol Hill. Liz, thank you so much for your reporting.